Right, so, here, take them. Okay. Yep, so we're about to actually go ahead and have someone call in and say hi. This is Jessica Sky Merizan. I just gotta wait for Ben to be able to take the controller so I can not be distracted while this is going on. So, Ben, push in the right stick, follow the arrow. Oh, life is hectic. Okay. So, let's get this party started. Let's get it started in here.
You're ridiculous.
Yes, I am. There we go, and call. Hey, Jessica, how's it going?
Hey there. How are you guys doing?
Doing quite well. Thanks for supporting, my Mass Effect Marathon charity thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We got a few emails going around BioWare when it first happened. Oh no, am I supposed to share my video?
Oh, no, it's up to you. This is just that way people know who's calling in.
Oh, okay. I was like, I'm in my PJs and I look terrible, but I'll do video if you guys really want. But
No, there's absolutely no need for that.
no one needs to see that. It's
yes. I'm to go get hygienic in a little bit too, because I've been all sorts of nasty this weekend, just tired. But yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do over at BioWare? You're the community manager, correct? Or
Yep.
a community manager?
Yep. So I'm our lead person in community and social media. Normally, there's not. It's basically just me and Chris Priestley, who is the king of the forums, and I do Facebook and Twitter, and then go to outside places like Reddit and talk to people. But since we're launching Mass Effect 3 in a few days, we've brought on some more people to help us. So you might notice that if you ask something on Twitter, you're much more likely to get a response now, because we've got a lot of other people who are helping us, make this game successful, make sure that people in the community are happy.
Okay, nice. Now, I work with Facebook and Twitter quite a bit myself as well. What would you say is the biggest challenge of trying to herd, the group of fans in social media that revolve around BioWare games? Because you have a very dedicated, very passionate fan base. What's the biggest challenge for you in regards to that?
I think that I have more challenges with the technology than I have with our fans. I mean, I think that it's always kind of an issue when you're representing a company, but, before I worked for BioWare, I was, a super hardcore Mass Effect and Dragon Age fan, so I understand how frustrating it is to be on the other side, and for me to have to be the person who's being told, okay, we can't talk about this for another 3 weeks because of all kinds of legal issues, so just tell them that they'll get more information soon. And for me, I'm like, I know how frustrating that is for everyone, but hopefully people understand that people like me are doing it not because we're evil or hate the fans, but because we have to work with all kinds of constraints and, technology issues like what Facebook is capable of doing, or, how much we have put into our forums and the limitations there, and as well as, what kind of things we've got going on with the cycle of game development. So
you obviously don't work directly with the game, but have you had the opportunity to play it? Do any of the designers or developers call you and be like, hey, just have fun with this. Here's, whatever build we currently have.
Yeah, I mean, I've ever since I started working, I've been with BioWare for about 7 months now, and right from the get-go, as as a kind of expert of the community, I get asked all the time, like, what do you think of this feature? Do you think the community is going to like this? We're thinking about doing this. What do you think? Do you like that as a fan? Does that get you excited? And then, I've had the opportunity to make a few recommendations that came directly from the fans and directly from, myself as a fan. And, those have gotten implemented into the main game. So when I'm playing the game, I'll come across something, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because that's a spoiler, but I come across something that I'm like, wow, that might not have been in the game if it wasn't for us.
Okay, awesome. Now, so you've been working with BioWare, you said, for 7 months on this. How does one get into the position of a community manager? Like, what skills do they build up? Like, how do you go about applying for this sort of position?
I think my background is actually in anthropology, so that's what I went to school for. But I mean, honestly, I kind of stumbled into it because I love conventions. I love things like cosplay and fan art. So I just started making connections with developers on Twitter and meeting them at conventions and interviewing them for my master's dissertation. And, it just happened to be that a community position opened up around the same time that I was getting to know all these people. And so I was asked to apply for the role. And, I think the big strengths are that you know how to be social, you know how people think about things, even when people themselves don't know exactly how they're thinking about things. And that you just, understand what's going on the internet and what's popular and, how to use up and coming media, because I mean, Facebook and Twitter is popular right now, but we always have to think about, okay, well, this is popular right now, but what's the up and coming things? So it's really just being that kind of person who was on the internet instead of doing their homework, I guess.
So, now what do you think of actually the most recent Facebook update to Pages, where they kind of turned it into a timeline? Because I know that's one of the big surprises. I didn't see that coming on my page. All of a sudden I look and bam, timeline, and now I have to adjust my entire thing around that. Were you surprised by that? Did you actually kind of already know that was coming?
I knew it was coming, and we haven't actually implemented it for our pages yet. I think that it's at the end of March or something like that they're going to force us to change over. So we don't have time to think about it right now since the game launches, but I'd say a week after launch, we are going to start thinking, okay, how do we want to use the timeline? What does this mean for us? What kind of work do we need to put into the page so that it makes sense? And, as you can see, we actually, or well, maybe you don't know, but we just created a second Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Mass Effect, because our previous page was facebook.com/Mass Effect 2. Because Facebook won't let us change Mass Effect 2 to Mass Effect 3 or to Mass Effect. So we're kind of like, well, now we're Mass Effect 3, not Mass Effect 2. So we have to make a whole new page. So, I mean, I guess this is kind of coming at a good time since we're going to have to deal with the timeline anyway. But it is kind of funny when, people use Facebook as a way to escape, procrastinating at their jobs, and I kind of have to think about it as how we're using it, how we're reaching people. And so personally, I use Facebook very little because it frustrates me to no end at my job.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, my job is started off as community manager sort of thing as well, and somehow I ended up doing this for I don't even understand. So you mentioned before that you were a big fan of Mass Effect even before you got this position. Did you have the background as a big gamer before joining in with BioWare?
Yeah, I started a company called Crabcat Industries with my best friend Holly Conrad. She's a big fem shep cosplayer. She's made I'd say 3 or 4 suits of armor just to fem shep. And so we started this company to, make costumes and go to conventions and have fun. And we did some panels at like PAX and things like that. So, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like a hardcore, um, I'm like, I'm terrible at PvP combat. I know people aren't supposed to say that, but I'm just not good at it, which is why I really like the way Mass Effect multiplayer works, because instead of being like really like, oh my God, everyone's judging me and I look so stupid and I'm getting killed every 5 seconds, it's much more collaborative and you're working together, and I feel like there's more skill building with it. So I mean, but I've always been a big gamer. My little sister, who's an amazing video gamer, and I was always the kind of like reading a book, like daydreaming under a tree somewhere. She and I used to play video games together all the time. It's kind of like a way for us to bond. So always big like Legend of Zelda fan, Castlevania, like Metroid, and then I got more PC games like Fable and then PC like Baldur's Gate. And yeah, lots of big gaming stuff. Sorry, this is like I'm not sounding very good. I'm so tired.
Oh, trust me. I don't know if you've seen any of the columns I've done before. I've just been sitting there like, I just had a good question, and then I blanked. Right?
No worries.
I had after I just sounded absolutely stupid, and like, let me see if anyone in the chat has anything they'd like to ask you. You know, I always encourage everyone to, ask questions in the chat. Someone wants to know, what about David Silverman? How close do you work with him?
So David's our director of marketing right now, and community is in a weird position because we are a service to the marketing department, and we're also a service to the studio. Marketing uses us a lot for, to promote their trailers and to promote, some of the advertising they've got through our social media channels. But, our big priority is making sure that we are a direct contact between the consumer and the studio so that there's a feedback loop there. So David's kind of the head of the marketing department, and so I work with him pretty closely on a daily basis. He sits in a cube across the room from me and throws darts at me all day, pretty much. It's kind of yeah. We've all got Nerf guns that were issued to us on our first day of work, so EA is kind of a pretty cool place to work in that sense. But yeah, David's a cool guy. He does all our Bioware Pulse and things like that. So, and he's hosting our launch party this Monday night, Tuesday morning.
Okay, so do you work more for EA then, or BioWare?
Well, BioWare's part of EA. They're very closely aligned. Like BioWare is its own label now under EA, so we're kind of just like an endless feedback into one another, because we have Mass Effect, Dragon Age, we have Tor, we have Warhammer, we have Command and Conquer, which is in development. So, we have all of those that we're always talking about every day. But then because I'm not Canadian, I work out of the EA headquarters, just due to like crazy customs and logistical reasons why couldn't move to Canada at this time. But so I visit the BioWare studio quite a lot. I'd say like once a month. I probably will have ended up living there about 4 months out of this year. But I said earlier that I work day to day at EA, and it's kind of like hanging out with your friends, because everyone's really young, and a lot of the people are really laid back, and just we all work really hard and try to do it in a fun way, so that the stress is a creative kind of stress. But going to the studio to BioWare is like coming home for Christmas and visiting your family, and talking to people who just have this kind of crazy connection with you that if they weren't your family, you don't know what you'd do with them. But you guys you're intertwined forever. So it's really hard to separate who I work for because it's a very cool atmosphere depending on where I am.
Nice. Connie wants to know, are you a Paragon or a Renegade Shepherd?
So I play kind of a Paragrade Shepherd. I'll do mostly Paragon choices, but I do occasionally pull out the Renegade options. One of my favorite playthroughs is as a male Shepherd. We were talking about in the chat earlier that it's really hard to make a good custom male Shepherd because I think it's probably because Mark Vanderloo is like a freaking model and he looks amazing. So you try to make something else and you're just like, why doesn't this look as good? So I can't take my male Shepherd seriously because I always make him look super dumpy. So I always play as, and I don't mean for this to be offensive, but I play a bipolar Shepherd where I'll just like every other option will be Renegade and then it'll be Paragon and then it'll be Renegade and then it'll be Paragon, and I kind of have to go in and cheat so that I have full Renegade and Paragon, otherwise it's not very fun to play. But so my Shepherd will be talking to Jacob, for instance, and he'll be like, "Oh, Jacob, I'm so glad to have you on my team." And then Jacob will say something like, "Oh, it's good to be here, Shepherd. I can't wait until we can spill some drinks on the Citadel." And then Shepherd will just say something like, "You need to take this seriously, soldier."
So you just gotta, you always gotta keep them on their toes. That's the way a good crew should be.
Yeah, Shepherd's a little insane. I mean, he or she did die and come back to life, so you can't really deny that there's got to be some kind of issues going on.
Mm-hmm. So, who's your favorite romance?
I always end up romancing Garrus for some reason. It's just I'm naturally inclined to romance Garrus, mostly because I'm so afraid that Garrus is going to corner me and like take his armor off, and I'm gonna see what's under there, and I'm going to be scarred for life. So I always try to romance Garrus first so I can control that situation.
Throwing the cover there. Damn, I'm failing.
Sorry, yeah, Ben over here just died twice in a row. In short succession. The video's lagging, but it'll catch up pretty soon-ish.
That's
Wow,
pretty terrible.
You are bad.
I haven't played this in 2 years, man.
So,
What level are you playing on? Insanity?
No, we're playing on normal. He's just bad.
Oh. Maybe it's because your armor's pink. You're psyching yourself out.
It's gotta be it. Like, it's the pink armor. That's all it is. Everyone sees the pink armor. It's like, we're gonna shoot that guy.
Well, I've been getting, like, progress on the brawler thing, so, like, you guys had none of that. I was the only one who's gotten brawler stuff so far.
Yeah. So, what are your favorite parts of Mass Effect 1 or 2?
I just started playing Mass Effect 1 again, because I did get my copy of Mass Effect 3. I don't feel right about opening it until March 6th, though, just because it feels weird to open it. So, in the meantime, to keep me from going crazy when I'm not working, I have been playing Mass Effect 1 and 2 over again. And so I've been thinking about my favorite moments, and I actually really... Now that I go back and I know what happens on Vermeer, it doesn't affect me as much anymore because I'm like, oh, well, I've got a couple saves where I save each one, so that's not a big deal. But some of the scenes, like where you encounter the Rachni, and the Rachni Queen animates that dead Asari, that scene's so chilling. And then when you're actually talking to the Reaper ship in Mass Effect 1, you're starting to find it all out. And now that I've played Mass Effect 3 and I'm going and playing some of these scenes in Mass Effect 1 and 2, I'm catching little foreshadowing and small hints. So I definitely recommend to people after you play Mass Effect 3 to go back and play 1 and 2 again, because you might notice some things that will start to answer some questions that Mass Effect 3 leaves you with. So it's definitely very cool. But in Mass Effect 2, I would have to say, the whole suicide mission is very intense. When Shepard is giving his or her kind of, we're all in this. and you know,
Yeah,
it's now
yeah.
whatever kind of a speech and saying that, you know, it's been a long journey and no one's coming out without scars, but it all comes down to this moment. I mean, when I'm really stressed out and I'm listening to one of my team leaders give me a pep talk, I always go back and think about that suicide mission speech, and I think about how long it took me to play it the first time around, because I was just like, I can't screw this up. The stakes are so high. It didn't feel like a video game for me. It felt like I was actually there doing that. And I think that that's a huge win for the team that made it.
So have any of the team leaders actually gone so far as to quote that scene word for word when they're trying to pep people up?
No, I don't. They never do. I do. When in my last, I had a bi-weekly call every Tuesday and Thursday with the other community people, and we would talk about what we were working on. So at the end of our Thursday call, we weren't going to have another call again until after lunch day on Tuesday. So I was kind of like, all right, guys, I feel like I should say something. I'm not very good, and you know, none of us have gotten any sleep, but it all comes down to this moment. Make me proud, make yourselves proud. And they were like, oh no, Jessica, you went there. And I was like, I went there.
Nice. I approve. So, have you managed to get everyone to survive the suicide mission in your save? Or, you know, did you, like, are you one of those that someone dies and that's it, that's the save you're going to use anyway?
My first time I played, Zaid died because I got really bad information from a friend who was like, oh, if you put Zaid in your party, he won't die. And then he died because I messed up his loyalty mission, and I didn't intimidate him into becoming loyal. So in my first playthrough, Zaid died, and I fixed that immediately and played the second time around, and everyone survived. And I've got to say, um, I think I will go with my second playthrough when I actually play with my retail copy, because, you know, as all of the people who survive Mass Effect 1 and 2 will make at least a small appearance in Mass Effect 3. So, you know, it is really good to see all those people. And a lot of them, I know that there's a lot of rumors going around, but a lot of them really do have some awesome parts in Mass Effect 3 without revealing anything. So I would say to people that you're going to want to go with your best save to load into Mass Effect 3, because it's worth it.
Okay, is Blasto the Hanar Spectre romanceable in Mass Effect 3?
Blasto...
I did that question in chat.
No, I know. Blasto, actually, there's some cool Blasto stuff in Mass Effect 3. I don't know how you make out with the Hanar, but Blasto has a cool role in Mass Effect 3.
I mean, the Japanese would probably know a thing or two about what to do with Hanar.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's already been done in like Fornax or something.
Yeah, Rule 34.
Yep.
How much time are you going to sink into Mass Effect 3 when you start playing for the first time? Tons, a bit, or when you can?
Me personally, I played tons. Like, originally I was playing on Xbox because just for security reasons, I couldn't have a copy on my laptop, my work laptop. So I was playing on a developer kit and an Xbox, and of course we can't take those home. So I would finish work around 6 or 7, and then I would play the game until like 1 a.m., and then I would go home, and then I'd get back up and come back to work at like 9 a.m., and then I'd do it all over again every single day until I finally finished the game for the first time. But I think it's definitely in between having multiplayer where you can play like one match and it's like 15 to 30 minutes and then you're done, and some of the missions where they're a little shorter and some of them are longer. I think it's definitely, you have the potential to kind of pick up and play and then stop if you want to. So it doesn't really feel as much of a time suck as some of the other games have, where you're like, okay, if I'm going to start this game, I know I'm going to be playing for like 10 hours. But if you're kind of obsessive like I am when you first pick up your copy, it's definitely a very rewarding experience in staying up all night and playing the game.
Nice. So, I mean, well, how much time have you like sunk into some of the other BioWare games? Like, what aside from Mass Effect, what is your favorite BioWare franchise?
Um, I mean, of course, I would be remiss not to mention Baldur's Gate, 2. That was an amazing game, and that was almost something where you could just like go and read all the codexes, and it felt like reading a book or something. So sometimes when I'm bored on like a train or on a bus, I'll still go back and go into the wikis and read those kind of things. I was a huge Dragon Age fan, so I really loved. I have a soft spot for Alistair. I'm not gonna lie about it. And then, I liked Mass Effect 1 a lot. I was not very good at the Mako, so it's hard for me to go back and play that, since Mass Effect 2 does not have a Mako. So, but yeah, I mean, honestly, there, when I go out to all the other games out there, all BioWare games still come up on top for me.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if you were watching yesterday, but one of the people who was playing for me, she was on the platform in Mass Effect 1 of the Mako, and all she had to do was drive in a straight line. And she somehow manages to fall off the platform. Like, she didn't even make it 5 feet before just falling completely off. So I'm convinced that the Mako is just impossible.
So either the Mako or us lady drivers just can't do it.
See, I didn't want to go there, but
Okay. It's okay, I can take it. I can dish it and I can take it.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't complain about drivers too much. I'm over in Washington, D.C., and God, the roads and the drivers are the worst ever here.
Probably, everyone's so caught up in all the politics of being in D.C., I'm sure.
I don't know what it is, but damn, I hate DC drivers. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm pretty much out of things to talk about.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, thank you so much for calling in and wishing us luck. You were awesome to talk to, and it's always great to just hear from everyone. Throughout the everyone who's worked on the game and kind of helped make the community what it is. So thank you so much for calling in.
No, thank you guys for putting this together. It's always, everyone at BioWare is really excited about it, and, we're really grateful that we have such awesome fans who, not only buy our games and play them, but take it to a whole nother level and do things like this. So thank you very much, and, I hope that I'll lurk in the chat probably again later tonight and tomorrow. But yeah, you guys are awesome. And for those of you out in the chat, if you haven't donated, probably even a small donation, everything helps. It's all for Child's Play charity, so it's a very good cause. So thanks, guys.
Yep, thanks a lot. And I hope to see you in the chat later on.
Totally.